What is up, guys? This is Florida Man Does Weather. We are back with a hurricane forecast, this time for something that really does look like it is going to threaten impacts the U.S. We are looking anywhere from really Melbourne, Florida to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for potential landfall locations in regards to 94L, which I believe in a day or two is going to be Imelda. Josh, take it away. I see the loop is kind of broken.
Yeah, apologize to everybody. They're having an issue with Ghost 19 right now. Um, here we go.
There, that's good.
They're having an issue with Ghost 19 right now. We've lost a couple of frames, and so it's kind of been throwing everything off whack. So what we're looking at here, and I'll run the loop in just a second, but I just want you guys to get a good view of what's going on here. This is R94L. This is future Imelda. The NHC has it at an 80-90. They're basically expecting it to be a tropical depression or a PTC by tomorrow evening. This whole big thing here, I know this looks like a giant storm, like already, but that's not really what's going on. What's going on is 94 has a really good venting high pressure system above it, which is venting it out in that clockwise pattern, making it look like you've got your counterclockwise motion. So what we're looking at based on plotting from the National Weather Service or National Hurricane Center right now is your low is somewhere here just north of Haiti, the surface low. We've had some transient lows dancing around here between Cuba and Haiti. We had one eject off through the Turks and Caicos earlier today. And then the Hurricane Hunter, which we're going to get to in just a second, is currently investigating this right here, the circulation right here, which is your 500 millibar low, which we will get to as well in just a moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to manually slide the rocker forward so that you can see it's starting to build that banding, and you can see that 500 millibar swirl just south of the Dominican Republic. That's your 500 millibar low. And what it's trying to do is it's trying to cross the Dominican Republic in the lower topography regions to join with the more surface circulation and try to stack overnight. That's what we anticipate is going to happen. And it'll spend the rest of the day tomorrow stacking itself. When a storm stacks itself, that's when it goes into its power phase. Looking over here real quick at our aircraft recon, currently, we have NOAA 9, which is the Gulf Stream 4 aircraft, and it came through and it dropped a whole bunch of drop sondes. Not going to go through all of the drop sondes that they have gone through, but just know me and Caleb have been watching every drop sonde as they have come in over the last few hours. And this ridge, this dark area you see right here, it's a high pressure ridge. It acts like a wall, it blocks storms. This ridge is a lot stronger than the models have previously forecasted. The models, we look at something called to measure the strength of a ridge. We um we look at something called the 500 millibar height. Okay, the 500 millibar height.
Get it from yeah, drop 10.
Yeah, 500 millibar height is showing the depth of the high pressure in the region. So the models were forecasting the 500 millibar height to be at about 5,800 meters, okay, closer to the ground, which would indicate a weaker ridge. Um, the hurricane hunters earlier today found that the ridge was stronger than previously forecast. Um, as a result, the models, as you noticed, shifted significantly west today. They sent the Gulf Stream out about 4 hours earlier than it was forecast today. Um, I suspect in response to that, not 100% sure. And the Gulf Stream dropped a lot of sondes along the edge of that ridge. And what they found was that ridge is actually reinforcing and strengthening. It's deepening as it moves south and west. Why is that significant? We will get to that in just a moment.
And
But
then
yeah,
quick correction, the models were progging the ridge edge in more of the 589, 588, 590 region. And
okay,
we've been
yeah,
seeing a lot of those initial SONs about, I think it was like 1 through 7 was 5920.
5920s.
And a
Yeah, it was
bunch
streak.
more were splintered in there as 5910s, 5920s, and then you only got to 5900 once you started to get into that northern envelope of the actual 500 millibar circulation associated with the developing system.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
that
so
ridge is helping to suppress.
yeah, so it's not 5800. I misspoke there. It's 5880, like he was saying. So you may not think we were just talking about this today. You may not think that the difference between 5880 and 5920 in regards to meters is that big of a deal. That's 40 meters, 120 feet. That is a really big deal when it comes to steering currents because that is a massive pressure difference and that's going to dictate your flow significantly, which we will get to that also in a minute. So that is the Gulf Stream. We also currently have NOAA 2. NOAA
Oh,
2
are they low level now?
uh what's the NOAA 2 is currently well they're currently at uh,
Okay, they're pretty high up there.
yeah, they're still pretty high. NOAA 2 is investigating the 500 millibar side of the storm, it looks like, and they're dropping a bunch of sondes as they're investigating what's going on in the western side of the storm as 94L is attempting to stack itself up. So we will be getting some more data from them. They've been measuring some pretty stout wind gusts up there. Lots of 39s, lots of 36, 39s and 35s, which that's flight level winds, 850 millibar height. It's not going to be that strong at the surface, but they're already picking up 40 and 45 mile an hour winds up there, and it's just a matter of time once that storm stacks before that makes it to the surface. Caleb, do you want to go ahead and give us an introduction into our steering layer? This is our
Yeah.
500 to 850.
So at 500 to 850 millibars, this is just kind of a good representation of the low level steering currents that 94L has been feeling throughout the day. As you can see, Humberto's marked kind of in the middle right there. I can't really see the latitude, longitude, but we'll go with it. It's the one just above the cursor you see on the screen.
20 north
So
and 60 west.
yeah, so Humberto's in a little bit of a steering current weakness. And once you take into account some of the other layers, it really becomes apparent. But our focus is 94L. So 94L has pretty much been stuck on Hispaniola all day. One, because it came into kind of the central part of Hispaniola, and that's where the tallest peaks are. The east side is really where some of your shorter, sub 1,000 meter hills and mountains are. Right on that center line between Haiti and the Dominican Republic is where the big ones are. So it's been stuck right there. And the fact that the circulation kind of spat out on the north side is both helping and hindering it a little bit. So the steering flow has it kind of stuck against Hispaniola for now because you've got the rest of the system just kind of getting interrupted circulation flow wise by those larger mountains, but your surface circulation is butting into those mountains when it's rotating back around, and it helps to kind of spin it up there. It's likely going to consolidate tomorrow a little bit north of Haiti, possibly near the Turks and Caicos, and it should continue that west northwest, possibly even due westerly motion. Depends on what the ridge does overnight and what this trough in the eastern part of the U.S. does as well. But as of right now, that is your steering. It is looking to go through the Bahamas, possibly even a little bit more on the west side of the Bahamas, slightly closer to Florida. And that has a couple of different implications. So if it takes that more westerly track, it's going to be more prone to being influenced by the trough on the East Coast, which is likely to cut off in some form, whether it's a stronger trough or a weaker trough. has yet to be seen. Seems like if it's somewhere in the middle and we have kind of a moderate strength system coming in, it will feel that pull, but it will be a little bit more gradual. If that cutoff trough becomes a little bit stronger, it will feel the pull a little bit earlier on. If it's weaker, it's going to follow a little bit more with the steering high pressure. And at this point, it looks like there's enough separation between Humberto and Imelda to really start to rule out that Fujiwara, both of the hurricanes with each other and then ride off into the sunset along a trough. I remember there was a couple of model runs days ago that showed Humberto eating Imelda, becoming Hermelda, and slamming into Rhode Island like it's Hurricane Bob from the 1990s, I think. That's looking way, way out of question at this point. But yeah, so that's what we're looking at right now.
Thank you, Caleb. And to go with that, this is a look at what we're looking at in regards to vorticity. And what vorticity is just your circulation. So blue on this chart represents no circulation. And then obviously as you go into the reds and the pales and eventually whites, that is the strength of your circulation, your angular velocity. 925 millibars, as you can see, that surface low is kind of all over the mountains. Like Caleb was saying, it's kind of being pinned by the steering currents. Go a little bit higher to your 850 millibar level, which is so it's the larger numbers to the lower numbers. So the lower your numbers, the higher you're going in the atmosphere. Your 850, same thing. The 850 and the 925 are pretty well stacked. Your 700 is a little looser, but it's still pretty well stacked. The storm has done a pretty good job at stacking the 700 today. But to emphasize and drive home the point of what Caleb was saying, you notice there's a little bit deeper shade of orange on the right-hand side of Hispaniola. That is your vorticity increasing at the 700 millibar level over the lower peaks on the eastern side of the island. There's less friction, there's less interference there. So at the 700 millibar level, it's picking up the pace. It's starting to do what it would do over the water. 500 millibars, that's that low. That's that rotation that we were seeing on the satellite feed, the GOES 19 satellite feed. It's still south of the island because it's been blocked by the mountain ranges. So what it's doing is it's trying to traverse the island in that area of least resistance, the smaller mountain ranges. So overnight, we expect it to cross the island and then begin the process of stacking over the 700. And then we don't really have anything at 200 right now. That's to be expected with a weak system. You won't start seeing that until Imelda, future Imelda ends up starting to approach category 1 status. Then you'll start seeing stuff at the 200 level once it starts stacking. Now, remember how we were talking about 94 kind of looks impressive right now with all of the banding and all of that stuff. Well, this is why. This is what we call upper divergence, and it's the indicator of a high pressure system that is allowing venting over the storm. As you can see, you have 5, 10, 20, kind of a bullseye over 94L, somewhat interrupted by the mountain range again. But what that's doing is that's venting the exhaust. That's venting the exhaust off of 94L. That's giving the air that rises underneath it somewhere to go once it hits the top. And by cutting that top off and letting it blow out, it's acting as an exhaust system for the storm, which then encourages more lift and it helps the storm to grow. And as you can see, for Humberto's venting is all off to the east, so it's not interfering with 94. And 94's venting is spitting off to the east as well, so it's starting to show up in the floater for Humberto a little bit. But the good news is Humberto's exhaust coming out the top of it itself, its own system, is not going to be affecting 94L. Lower convergence, when air comes together, air rises. You need convergence for tropical systems to develop. If you look here, this is really driving home the point that Caleb was saying, talking about the mountain ranges disrupting this system. You see how our convergence is in a horseshoe? What's missing is convergence in the mountain ranges because the air cannot converge where a giant piece of rock that extends, several thousand feet into the air is in its way. So right now, 94L's convergence zone is in a giant horseshoe shape as it's trying to pull itself off those mountains. It's in a really good environment. If it wasn't for the mountains of Haiti right now, 94 would be off to the races. But here we are. That will start to change as the night progresses into tomorrow. So that's for this.
Pull up shear for me real quick. I want to go
Shear.
over the
Okay.
potential.
Sure.
So, as 94L continues to mature and then eventually move to the west northwest, it will be entering an area of a lot more favorable shear. And the other problem with that is there's not much dry air up there as well.
Not at all.
So, you're going into 29, 30 degrees Celsius waters. That's upper 80s for American speak. And that's not good. If this system is able to really consolidate itself, stack up, develop a well-defined core, and it enters those waters in that type of shear environment, that's problems. Right now, we are thinking this could be anywhere from a high-end tropical storm to a moderate, maybe high strength category one that makes landfall anywhere from Melbourne to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. It's looking like those recurve scenarios there where it goes out to sea following Humberto. That's becoming a little bit less likely. It's going to be especially less likely if this system gets stronger than Humberto. If this starts to rapidly intensify into a category two, category three, something like that, which isn't forecast right now, but the potential is there. You've got really hot water, not much dry air, not too bad in terms of shear. It's there. So that's another thing to keep an eye on as we go forward for the next couple days.
Caleb. So that's where we stand in summary. There's a lot of wait and see. There's still a lot of potential. There's a lot of different scenarios that could happen, even some scenarios the models aren't picking up on. So just be aware, be vigilant. If you're living in the state of Florida, you've had this dance before, you've sang this song before. Uh, be on the lookout for the surprise. Um, just because a model is saying something isn't going somewhere doesn't mean that it can't throw you a curveball. You're not out of the woods until it's past you. Doesn't matter what any news anchor says, that's just staring at spaghetti models or anybody on social media. My policy has always been and will always be, even with all of the tools that we have, it's not over until it's past you. So, state of Florida, be aware, especially the East Coast. You're not out of the woods by any means. The potential is definitely there. Rest of the state, don't let your guard down because you never know when the Mother Nature is going to throw a curveball. We've laid out a few scenarios. There's about 15, 20 other scenarios we haven't had a chance to get to. This is a very complicated setup. It is not textbook at all. It's one of the reasons why the models have been all over the place. The one thing I will say, and I want to leave everybody with tonight, and who knows what we're going to be looking at in the morning, but the trend with the models has been west all day with additional sampling of the ridge and the ridge coming in stronger than previously forecast and the steering currents increasingly leaning west. The trend has increased to the west significantly. Now, everybody's talking South Carolina right now, or possibly Georgia. Keep in mind, 24 hours ago, everything was out to sea, except one or two outliers. That's a significant trend to the west, and we really don't know how the models are going to digest the aircraft information just yet. We may be waking up to a completely different situation in the morning. So just stay on guard, have a plan, be ready. As always, we will keep you posted.
One second here. Like, and subscribe to the
Yes,
channel. Wherever this
yes,
is making landfall, we plan to cover it live in the storm. So if you want to see our live storm chasing experience, follow us. It's going to be cool. It's going to be an experience for you guys.
absolutely. Thanks everyone for joining us this evening in this special tropical edition of Florida Man Does Weather. And until next time, which likely won't be very long given the state of things, till the next time, Florida Man is out.
Good stuff.